Since the day you got an 89 instead of a 90, you've been trained that accomplishment equals self-worth. Now you're saying that he has an ego because it makes you feel better to know that this person who is where you want to be has this one trait that you don't like. It makes you compensate. It makes it easier for you to digest. If I took away your achievements, what are you left with? People have been designed since childhood to tie achievements with self-love and value and self-worth. If I took away your achievements, what are you left with? Just to love yourself? Sophisticated arrogance, much better than confidence. And I'll tell you why.
And we're live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Posh Light Club. Our next guest is a long-awaited therapist I kept on talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Zain Hussain. So, perfect. So everyone knows how the first question goes. Zain, what are you passionate about?
Self-improvement. Yeah, self-improvement.
Perfect. So before this podcast, we kind of talked about how you had all these little things you kept doing and this journey of ups and downs that led you here. But tell me, how did you land on being a therapist and how did that come into fruition?
I think it's a lot about fulfillment, right? Like, I think we do stuff and we try and see if it fulfills us, but you can't see if it fulfills you until you do it. So I pivoted a lot in my life. So I was a fitness coach at some point. I guess entrepreneurship is something I do. So went to school, got my real estate license, got into real estate, and real estate is very cutthroat, but you make good money, realized, oh shit, like money is not something that fulfills me. What do I do? And the story of how I actually got into my graduate program is not like, I don't talk about it a lot, but I was looking into programs and I realized I missed the deadline for a lot of them. So I was like, oh, whatever. And then I saw a program come up and I was like, okay, it's virtual. Okay, it's accredited. I missed the deadline by 2 days. So I emailed them and I'm like, hey, like, I just want to see, is it okay if I apply, whatever? And they're like, yeah, apply, sure, let's see what happens. We don't know. So I apply it just for fun. 2 days later, the director emails me. She's like, I'm gonna meet you. I meet her, we talk for an hour. She's like, sure, I'll let you into the program, but you have to keep a very high GPA. And just because, you're late and we don't have space, yada, yada, yada. And in less than 3 days, I'm into a graduate program for psychotherapy. And I hadn't committed to it, but I knew I had to do something different. And I think that's where a lot of people falter, is like they think the fulfillment comes from doing the thing immediately. It actually comes from a lot of time in the field, in the trenches, as they say. And so, yeah, man, I stuck it out. I was in my graduate program. I was doing a bunch of other stuff at the same time. And now I'm a therapist. And I can happily say I'm very, very fulfilled in my job.
Fair enough. We spoke about this before, and it's a question that a lot of people, when I speak to, have. But who is therapy really for?
Therapy is for everyone and anyone. Therapy is for anyone who wants to understand themselves better from a perspective that's neutral. If you want to understand yourself better and you go to mom, she'll look at you from a place of love, from caring, from nurturing. Go to dad, it'll be a little bit more strict, maybe more rigid, especially in our culture. Go to your buddy, he's going to look at you from a different place. Having neutrality is extremely important when it comes to awareness and self-awareness, ultimately for growth, ultimately to understand yourself better, and for goal setting. So therapy, it's actually not super talked about, but therapy is a lot to do with goals. It's a lot to do with micro habits, especially what I specialize in is micro habits. So therapy is for anyone and everyone who wants to understand themselves better. It could be the most healthiest, happiest person ever wants to just understand someone better, or it could be the person who's going through absolutely a really, really rough time.
So why not learning yourself rather than going to someone else to talk about it?
The problem with learning it yourself, man, it's funny. I was having a conversation with someone. He's like, there's not anything a therapist would tell me that I haven't already thought of myself, which in its core is incorrect, because you alone as a human have a particular set of perspectives that you hold and biases that you hold about yourself. You cannot afford to look at yourself in a way that challenges the narrative that you're maybe failing in an area, or maybe you're not doing so well in an area, because that's scary.
Do you feel like if someone actually was, because I'm thinking about this through my perspective, and it was taking that accountability to realize that I wasn't good at a certain thing. So then going back to what you said about that bias, do you think that bias wasn't there? And do you feel that sometimes someone might be harder on themselves than they are in general because it's about themselves and they want to improve that much more? So what would you say for that?
The ultimate thing is, man, a therapist approaches you primarily with care. So it's always client-centered care. So you are the center point of the discussion always. As my client, for example, you would be the center point, and I would look at you with a place of absolute caring. So the negative biases, it's not negative in nature. Ultimately, it's for your growth. So one of the first things that we talk about in like a primary session or whatever is, what are your goals and what are you hoping to achieve with therapy? And then we tailor that approach to, if you're someone who says, be absolutely hard on me, yada, yada, yada. Okay, that's going to be a perspective we hold, but it's not necessarily what you might need because you're somebody who's already too hard on yourself. So it's like you don't see, like, it's like you're going in a direction and your compass says you're going north, but the person who actually is like behind you and they're watching your car move, they know you're not going north, but because you think you're going north, you think you're right. But the person who's outside watching your car on Google Maps, seeing you go south, is like calling you like, hey, you're going south. So it's like, you understand what I'm trying to say? It's like your perspective is this.
Do you feel like it almost like that tunnel vision, like you're not really understanding?
Because you're incapable of doing so. For example, people with trauma. A lot of people would be like, oh, just get through it. Just your brain literally shuts itself, portions of it's down. Memories get shut down, memories get forgotten for the sole reason of survival. Ultimately, it's survival. So your ability to hold a particular perspective is rooted in your ability to survive. So you need someone else to come in, right? If you go to therapy, to someone else to come in and be like, well, with love and care, this is another avenue that you might not be seeing. This is another avenue you might not be seeing. And it's funny, forget therapy. Dude, it's crazy. In the literature, we're seeing people are asking GPT, hey, the number one thing we're seeing pop up, like my brokerage is an AI brokerage. The number one thing we're seeing is people are saying, hey, show us our blind spots. Show us what we're not seeing. Tell me something I don't know, as opposed to, oh, tell me everything I do know. So that narrative alone is kind of coming down where it's like, oh, I already know these things. Now people want to be told stuff they don't know.
Okay. And what do you think the main goal is for therapy?
It's whatever goal you want. If your goal is, I want to build a better marriage, okay, we can work on that. If your goal is, I want to get in better shape and show up better for myself, we can work on them. It's client-centered. I'm not here to tell you what your goals are. I'm not here to tell you if the goal you have is right for you or not. That's not my job. My job is to support you as much as I can. If your goal is to build the number one banana peeling business in the world, my job is to help you build the number one banana peeling business in the world.
What happens if it's detrimental to the person? Do you tell them that? Is that something you got to give them reality checks with? Or how do you balance that? Because there's that something we talked about of being delusional and being very focused on yourself and being able to assume that you're the best and go out from there. But how do you know, like, the whole be realistic approach? Is that something you tell people? Or where do you kind of lie in that?
So number one, it's really important to understand that physical safety is primary. In any healthcare profession, physical safety comes first. And even in mental health, physical safety is number one. So that's like the above all be all. So it's like, if your physical safety is in harm, no, there's actually like rules where we can intervene and call people and to make sure safety is number one, right? The other thing is that idea of like grand delusion or somebody being deluded. Let's go back to the banana peeling business. Who am I to say it's not going to be successful? We have so many stories in the world where somebody failed 70 times and then they made it work. So if everyone else in the world can fail and people say like, oh, you shouldn't be, especially in our culture, right? We go and like when I went to work for myself or be self-employed, whatever, you hear all these things from people. Oh, you can't do it. Why should you do it? So it's not that we don't have reality checks. We have them. We have too much of them. So what would it look like if you had someone in your corner empowering you absolutely 100% for your goals, but also helping you see things in a reality?
So would you say a goal as a therapist is less? I feel like you sound more of a coach than a therapist.
It's funny because that's my style as a therapist.
Okay.
So that's you're 100% right. That's my style as a therapist. And I actually tell people, I'm like, listen, if you're okay with it, I don't work really with trauma and stuff, so my thing is a little bit more different. But I'm like, if you're okay with it, I'd like to deploy a coaching style with therapy with you, because my work, a lot of it is with young men, especially South Asian men, right? So it's like, I'd like to deploy a coaching style of therapy with you where I can kind of guide you and be very upfront and straightforward with you. Because the thing that I hear a lot, man, is people are tired of like, oh, is that so? Well, it's okay.
It's like the pity and everything.
Yeah, men, at least the men I speak to on a day-to-day basis are like, bro, we want someone to just tell us how it is. I don't want to spend the next 3 sessions going in circles to come to the conclusion myself. I want you to tell me what's going on. And when I'm seeing that happen, I've seen tremendous results. I've seen tremendous progress. So it just shows what's going on.
I saw this one thing online about the more you talk about a problem, the worse it gets. So, and sometimes it may not be the fact that you can keep talking about the problem and see solutions for it. And when therapy comes into it, is a lot of people have that. I don't know if it's a misconception or not, but that you need to talk about your problems, you need to talk about everything. Where do you come in that? Is there something you believe in that you have to keep speaking in that, but you have to keep talking about your problems and then it'll figure it out? Or what do you say to that?
first of all, everyone's different, right? If you have somebody who all they do is pretty much vent about their problem and they're not going anywhere, and I'm sure you know people like that in your life who love talking about their problems because it's a way for them to cope with perhaps feelings of insecurity or whatever. So it's also like the idea of like being a victim. It's much easier than admitting that you're not where you want to be. That's fine. People who I work with, especially people who I see a lot and people that I belong to. So culturally, we don't talk about our problems. Your dad doesn't talk about his problems at home, and I can say that for a fact because I know you're brown, you're South Asian. There's no doubt about it, and because they've been conditioned that way through their immigrant. There's a lot of stuff like trauma, whatever. So yeah, people like certain people, 100% need to talk about it because they're not talking about it, and it's having a detrimental effect at home, at work.
What do you think talking about it really does?
Acknowledgement. It's the first step to anywhere, getting anywhere, whether it's drug abuse, whether it's self-improvement, anything really is acknowledgement. So by saying something out loud, suddenly it's not in your brain, it's in front of you. And so even with people, it's like when you journal something or you write something down, suddenly it goes from your brain to something in front of you, and now it is much more tangible. So it's like if I keep thinking about water in my brain, I'm like water, 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 water. It's like this huge thing. It's like, what am I thinking of? An ocean, a river? What am I thinking? But now it's like water. Well, now it's a tangible thing right in front of me, and it's not that big, scary ocean. It's just a water bottle. So talking about stuff makes it less. It makes it more realistic and makes something tangible. Now you can work at it.
What do you think the biggest problems young men are facing today?
Oof, talk about this. That's a whole other podcast. But I would say it's a lack of direction, lack of purpose, lack of clarity, too many distractions. It's a complete dopamine deficit from the second they wake up. Man, I was guilty of his wake up, scroll, hit the vape, do whatever, like just crazy stuff all day long to cope with many different things. Some of them aren't coping, that's on them, but it's purpose above all. Discipline and purpose. Give a guy, but you go to the gym. What does the gym do for you?
Everything.
Everything.
I'm locked in. Everything's more systematic.
Everything. You said it perfectly. Everything. It's a cascading effect. And this is why I'm a huge firm believer in exercise primarily, but especially the gym for guys. Because it does a lot, though. It's emotionally processing. You have a feeling. I'm sure you've trained away a hard feeling before. I'm sure you've trained away pain.
So
Healthy. Coping mechanism. That's really healthy. And it's emotional processing. The other thing that I preach about all the time is it's a microwave. Now you get to bed, you know that when I was on my self-improvement journey, I dropped out of school. I wasn't doing anything. My only thing was if that day I worked out, it's a win. So you sit down, you're like, okay, I had that physical win today. Now your brain has learned that you are who you say you are. So I think it starts with discipline. That's what young men need. And I think it's purpose. And oftentimes with discipline ends up you find purpose anyway.
do you ever see that? You kind of spoke about it briefly. You said that as soon as I went to the gym, I knew that I'm that person who believes all these things. But now say you miss that gym sessions or you're not where you want to be and whatever it may be, or that workout wasn't good. And there's that cognitive dissonance of what I thought I am versus what the reality I was. And that could be really detrimental to someone. What would you say to that person?
It's very simple. You have this cognitive dissonance, you said it, is basically a repetitive pattern of something happening and it's not matching. To do a pattern interrupt, to stop that pattern from happening is you have to acknowledge the smallest thing. So let's say you have somebody who's been missing the gym, missing their diet completely, not sleeping well. This is what I say in my program. What is the smallest tangible thing that you can say, I did this thing? It could be as simple as taking your step count from 1,500 to 1,600. It's not about how big of a win it is. It's about having a win so small. But the biggest thing is reaffirming it back to yourself that you did that. So it's that cascading effect, right? The guy who goes to the gym for the first time ever, he does like 10-pound curls. Next session, he does 10-pound curls for like one extra rep. Is he a gym goer? No. But he leads that and he's like, yo, he tells everyone. I'm sure you did too. Yo, guys, I lifted more. I'm getting stronger. I'm getting stronger. I'm getting stronger. It's that reaffirmation back. So that person who has been in these patterns and the men I work with who are in these patterns where they've been just slacking completely, start small. Pick something very small. And I talk about this on YouTube. Pick something small. Do it enough that it's almost laughable how easily you can do it. So what I said, the step count.
So wait, it turns her up, but what about the people that go to the gym and are so depressed? What do you say for that? And maybe they hit their workout, and I guess maybe it's acknowledging that I still did something. But what would you say to those people?
Bro, nothing I say can be generalized, number one. So it's different for every single person. And that's anything that anyone talks about cannot be generalized to the population, number one. Number two, what can I say about depression is that for some people, they can be doing every single thing. They can be going to the gym, eating right foods, having a very healthy life, cutting out toxic friends, setting boundaries, doing every single thing right, and depression will still visit them. Now, notice how I say that. I don't say they're depressed. Depression will visit them. The same thing with anxiety. Anxiety will visit them, and this is when narrative therapy is about, separating the person from what's occurring to them. So that is something that is that person's own journey. This is all just stuff that the general population can benefit from. And that is something that person should explore, whether it's through medicinal intervention, whether it's through actual deep trauma work, understanding childhood experiences, understanding deeper narratives that they're holding about themselves. Because you're right, what if you have someone who's doing everything right, but at the end of the night, they go to bed and they're like, I'm not enough. No matter how much that person accomplishes, and you see this all the time in really high functioning people, they got the 6-figure job, family, wife, car, house, go to bed at night, they're like, I'm not good enough. That person going to have symptoms of depression show up. So it's not about, okay, now you need to go to the gym more. It's about now you need to go and talk about and work on why you have that narrative about yourself.
You spoke briefly about medicinal intervention. A lot of times when I look into it, I was always very someone who was against, like we spoke about the back injury, but against medicines, against using drugs. Because for me, when I was seeing it with like other friends or we use these type of drugs, it just numbs out.
Yeah.
Right. And I had a friend who was she had VPD, and she was on these pills for a very long time. And I kept saying like, hey, like this is not something you should continue doing. Like I don't think it's right for you, because I'm like, yo, all it does for you is just numbs you out, right? And it's like you just become numb, and I don't think you're actually solving the problem. You're just forgetting about it almost, right? You're not the same person. And then as time goes on, the same thing with the doctor goes, here's your issue. Well, okay, you're still feeling bad. Here's another dose. Here's another dose. Here's another dose. And it was just this constant loop. And a lot of people would say, oh, big pharma this, and my drug dealer was my doctor. Like that's a very common phrase you hear thrown around. What then? What do you say to those people who are like exploring different options? And what does it mean? How you get cured from a pill? Does a pill make you happy now? Or if it just makes you numb, why is that a good thing?
There's a lot of generalization in your statement, to be very honest. And it's that idea that a pill numbs you out. And there's also that complete other side where it's actually a pretty big majority where taking medicine for a condition that you've been prescribed by a doctor does help. And it does help you get there. Because the thing with motivation and serotonin, dopamine, and SSRIs is to actually start something, to do something, you need actually a certain level of neurotransmitters in the brain to get there. So it's like even that person who I say like, okay, take from a 1500 step count to 1600. Well, even taking that extra 100 requires a certain level of neurotransmitter levels for sake of simplicity. It has to be there. Medicinal intervention doesn't just balance neurotransmitters. There's a whole array of things it can potentially do for that person. The one thing I do kind of see where you're coming from is exploring options. So where I come from is explore options. And the one thing that I see happening a lot is young people are looking for easy, quick fixes. So they go to doctors, they get prescribed medication fairly quickly and think that that's going to be the alone thing that's going to solve their quote unquote problem. Literature shows that medicinal intervention plus lifestyle changes is what brings the best results. Medicinal intervention alone without lifestyle changes, not.
So what does that medicinal intervention actually do to the person?
I'm not qualified to say that, but at the end of the day, it's just a matter of like, it's like saying like, what does Tylenol do for pain? Like, yes, you can go into the science for it, but what does it do is it helps alleviate pain symptoms. So in a nutshell, it's like, what does medicine do? Well, if you have someone who has depression and they're taking SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, in the name, it's basically just reuptaking the inhibition of serotonin, meaning there's going to be more bioavailability of the serotonin in the brain, hopefully leading to better changes about their behavior because serotonin has a lot to do with mood and stuff like that. But
fair enough. So then, as time goes on, you see an alarming rate of children dealing with mental health issues. And when I look at that as someone now who's a lot more self-aware, I like to say, maybe that's a little egotistical, but I say that if I was you, I would be depressed too, because you're someone who doesn't have any. We talked about slow characters, so and I don't even think it's you're depressed. Maybe depression came to it. We kind of just talk about doing, but I really just think it's you lack of purpose.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of times, maybe our style is very different because we grew up our own way, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But the modern day, I wouldn't say modern day, but say a girl or guy who's like 16 goes to a doctor, hey, so and so, I have X, Y, and Z. These are my symptoms. Blah blah. Clinically, you're depressed, and they get labeled as, and they use that label as almost like a coping mechanism. Is oh, here, of course I'm sad today, I'm depressed. Of course I'm like this today, I'm depressed. And Tate went really viral for saying that I don't believe in depression, because even if it's real or not, that's not what I'm worried about. Is I would never allow myself to believe that there's something out there that can control me, and so that I'm not. And I think that was very powerful, because for the first time, someone was like, bro, like, it's fine. Like, you can think about whatever you want to do, but if you tell yourself that you're not something and you are something else, that affirmation will help. So with all these people you keep seeing with these younger kids getting depressed or whatever, what would you say to that? And how does someone that young of age kind of learn? Because, you know, like having the 6 year old therapy is weird, because maybe I'm just sad when they bowl. Where do you come in then, and how do you kind of sort things out?
It's really a matter of like understanding that you're right that using a label as a crutch is not beneficial to anybody, not the practitioner, not the patient, not the client, nobody. So using a label as a crutch to operate a certain way is not viable, and it's not like, bro, I can't, somebody who's got diagnosed with bipolar or anything can't just go committing crimes and say, well, sorry, I'm bipolar. That's just how I am, because it's just not. It's a label, but it's not an excuse. And I think that's where the line is. It's like understanding that, okay, there may be a condition here that's affecting you in certain ways, but where's the empowerment coming from in order for you to understand that you can tackle it, you can do better, you can get out of it? And I think the empowerment portion is where therapy comes in. And as per your point about children, well, dude, there's children and adolescents who go to therapy because you would not believe some of the stuff they've had to see as children that has a very lasting impact on them. And if the cycle doesn't, and I commend all the parents who bring their children to therapy, because therapy is not, Nouman, it's not just talking. It's art therapy. There's so much new stuff coming out, man. There's art therapy, there's walking therapy, there's freaking painting therapy. And they prove, like the research shows, they are doing things for that person. So point is this, that person, whoever walks around and says, okay, I have this label. Well, here I am. I'm depressed. Of course, on Tuesday, it's work day. I'm going to stay and not go to work. It's because I'm depressed. No, that's not a good way to operate your life, because now you're using that label as a crutch. Whereas you have someone who's like, for example, wakes up on a Tuesday, decides to go to work, extreme fatigue, no motivation. Boss looks at him and says, Andrew, you got to go home, buddy. You're not okay. You got to take some rest. That person goes home and says, well, I am quite tired today. I do feel a little bit out of it. Right? I think I should take it easy today and maybe do some self-care.
With me,
Vastly different.
we speak a lot about the children side of things and the therapist side of things. Just a personal question. If you believe so strongly in therapy, do you see a therapist yourself?
I do, absolutely, man. I've been going to a therapist since I was 18 years old. And I think anything I amount to, any amount of success due to my ability to introspect and, as you said, be self-aware, a portion of that credit goes to my therapist. A portion of that credit goes to me for sure. God, of course. And yeah, man, absolutely. Because it's like, imagine being a doctor, you've never gone to a doctor.
Yeah.
Imagine being a surgeon, you don't trust surgeons.
Fat fitness coach.
Imagine being a fat fitness coach. So it's like all of these different things where it's like you have to practice what you preach. So I understand the value of the thing, which is what inspired me to get into the field myself.
Tell me about the craziest story you've seen so far. As there was both with elderly people as well as children. But without giving too much, actually, before I even ask you that, we want to touch about elderly, and I think where we don't see enough people who talk about emotions and stuff is, can you mention my father, my mother, all these types of people. How do you combat that? Because we, alhamdulillah, I feel like we're blessed in this position to have so much knowledge and to be able to have conversations with friends and families about mental health and whatever it may be. But what would you tell a 50, 60-year-old man who's lived his entire life the way he's lived? He's cut through it. I just got to work. I got to do this. I provide. That's all he's ever known. What do you tell them?
No, nothing. I can't. You can't. Trying to tell someone something, you have to primarily ask yourself why. What is the purpose of you telling that person? Is it to change their behavior? Is it to make yourself feel validated? Is it to be able to share certain things with that person? Right, like brown men and their fathers. What's going on? Why do you want to change that person? Because their mechanisms of thinking has served them to the point where they've raised a guy like you, raised a guy like me, good family, settled in Canada. So it's not detrimental. The only issue is like asking yourself why. So when it comes to that idea of like, can you get them to understand? Yeah, people who have the ability to put aside their personal biases and look at the other side and be open to education, be open to value, and be open to seeing different experiences. Yes, of course, they understand it. They already get it. But people who are very rigid in their way of thinking, what I've personally seen is it has to do a lot with trauma. And it has to do a lot with the fact that they've learned very early on that they are the only ones, they can only rely on themselves. So what the brain learns then is that I can only rely on myself, which means my viewpoint and my bias is the only thing that's going to lead me to survive. So when you have these young guys like you and me come up to these uncles or whatever and be like, uncle, what are you doing for self-care? You shouldn't talk to your kids that way. Sometimes there's nothing you can do. It's like a wall.
So if I had a father or someone watching has a parent who's you can visibly see is struggling with a lot of different aspects in their life, what's like maybe what that 1,500 to 600 college show, that little stuff that can make a difference, that makes a difference, like what's that for them?
You have to lean into the values. So, for example, a father, Pakistani old immigrant. So, what are your parents' values? Most often than not, immigrant parents' values often come from companionship to their children. We see this all the time, and it's funny because a lot of immigrant parents will be like, "Watch, you'll leave us one day. You'll throw us in a retirement home." So there's a fear there, and oftentimes it's funny if you don't understand the values your parents hold. Look into their fears. They often go hand in hand. So,
Can you read that actually?
so look, if you don't understand the values of your parents and how to show them love in their value language, look into their fears. So seeing their fears. So for example, you're a guy, right? Let's say you don't understand what your mom and dad's value is. Well, let me ask you something. Would they like if you had a girlfriend? Would they like if you were out late at night at like a random lounge? No. So that tells you that the value relies on you being a decent human being, number one. Number two, being the kind of person who doesn't have like girlfriends and he's like out and stuff. So that value comes down to family system. It comes down to family orientation. So it's about collectivism. So that's our background. Just to let you know, like our collectivist background means that we are very family oriented people, right? Pakistani, South Asians. So how can you help them improve through that? Well, if you want to help them increase their step count, you don't tell them go do it alone. You take Baba, you take Mama, whatever, grab them, say, hey, let's go on a quick walk. And again, it's that idea, start small. This is how I got my dad to walk 5 kilometers a day. Start very small. Hey, dad, let's go for a quick stroll. Don't say anything like, oh, I'm gonna talk to you about this. Nothing. Just be like, hey, let's go for a quick walk. It's good for your health. Okay, go for a walk. Now you have that. Now you have the action. Now you reaffirm it back to parents. So that night before bed, through a WhatsApp, through a TikTok you send them, through a WhatsApp video you send them, anything you want, you can reaffirm it that walking was good for your health. And because they spent it with their children, they'll love it. So that's one way to increase one small activity. Now getting them to emotionally open up, very hard. Very hard because they've learned that emotions don't serve them, especially brown men, brown uncles, brown dads have learned emotions have no place in their life unless it's a very deep, relevant emotion in that moment. And even then, sometimes, dude, I don't see it.
Well, you spoke about a lot often you see their mindset is so hard because it's the mindset that got them so far. This mindset will continue. And right when you said that, I felt very like, I say that too to myself. That alhamdulillah, I feel like my mindset's to the point where, oh, well, I can handle anything. What do you say to that? Like, I'm like, I think myself, like, I work hard, I do this, blah, blah, blah. I'm very goal oriented, blah, 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 all these things. But you just said that it's a quality that people it's detrimental to them.
Let me ask you something. If I took away your achievements, what are you left with? That's who I am. And how does that make you feel?
Not too bad. Well, I think alhamdulillah, like, achievements, like, say, like, can you give me examples?
If I stripped you from your accounting, if I stripped this podcast right here, if I took the gym away from you, if I took your entire sense of achievement, what are you left with? And I can see the gears turning. What would you be left with? Would you still feel as good about yourself as you say?
Probably not.
Probably not. Because brown South Asian people have been designed since childhood to tie achievements with self-love and value and self-worth. That's why I asked you, if I took away your achievements, what are you left with? Would you just still love yourself? If I put you in a random forest in Tanzania, would you still love yourself and claim that you're so I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm saying, would you walk around and be like, oh, I'm so self-accomplished, I'm self-aware? No, because you've been trained since birth, since the day you got an 89 instead of a 90. You've been trained that accomplishment equals self-worth. When mom and dad were like, but Dave, good job, you got 89, but you could have got a 90. You know, if you got a 90, we would have been very happy, but you got an 89, good job. It's okay, it's still like, you know, in the 80th percentile, whatever, good job. But you know that kid down the block, he got a 92. Why didn't you? Just lightly. The lighter things is where it all starts.
So then I see where you're coming from, but I also would then see that if I was the person who got that 90, or I was the person who started the podcast, who went to the gym and all these things, those systems that got me to the goal itself is enough to get confidence from. So even if you strip away the achievement, I'm left with the same system that can get that back. Like what you says.
And that's exactly it, right?
So would you say that's the confidence then, or that's the almost I would say mastery, like in the let's just say call it self mastery.
Yeah.
Is that self mastery then?
To a degree, it is self mastery, but it's all like you have to understand detriment and mastery sometimes go hand in hand. Why? Because the same guy who's extremely hard on himself to get him through the marathon is also destroying his body. David Goggins. Perfect example. David Goggins, super accomplished, destroys his body. Right? So it's like you can't pick one or the other.
So you need accomplishments to feel confident, but then how do you then tell yourself that my accomplishments don't give me the value? Because it's like you said, it's very hand in hand. So then is like a silver lining to it.
Yeah, the silver lining is fulfillment. The silver lining is, are you fulfilled by your achievements, or are you fulfilled by the process of achieving those achievements?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where a lot of people fall short, is people get so attached to the actual achievement, and that's what they envision as fulfillment, that when they get that thing, their brain automatically has set the stage such that, let's say you're like, okay, I want to land a 6-figure job. As you start to approach that 6-figure job, your brain's like, yo, this was easy, but we can do more. Okay, 6-figure, 120. Okay, brain's like, no, we can do more. Let's say the podcast hits like 1,000 subscribers. You're gonna be like, okay, we can do more. That's where people fall short. The trick and secret that I've seen, especially in my own life, is acknowledging that, yo, I feel fulfilled wherever I am right now because it's the process that matters. But if anything else comes along the way, more achievements, that's great. But I don't need those.
But then how does someone who wants to grow to 10, 100, a million and get to those numbers balance that? Because now you're like, because you see how it's like,
yeah, it's
completely tied, yeah. But then it's also like, when does your ambition dissolve? Like how does that affect it? And is that something I really want it be affected by?
I made it simple. What do you believe has control over your accomplishments and achievements?
What do you mean by that?
I mean, it's very simple. Do you think you're the one accomplishing and giving you the achievements, or do you believe there's a higher power that's giving those things to you?
Okay.
And the second you understand that, that's where a lot of your stuff will be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Then you're like, okay, I'm just gonna, like, I'll put it Islamically, I'm gonna do this thing for the sake of doing it. And I'm not going to get attached to the outcome. I'm not going to get attached to the result. If Allah wants to give me that result, great. If not, I did my best. Rizq. The entire idea of rizq is this. Go out. Birds go out, right? I love this. I love this so much. Birds go out. They don't know if they're being fed. But they go out early morning. They look for food. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, that bird, its rizq is provided by me. I will feed it. You don't worry about that. So it's this idea, as Muslims especially, like, okay, yes, we want to achieve things. Yes, we want everything. And I pray that you get those things. But have you made those achievements your God?
Oh.
Have you made the million subscribers your God? Have you convinced yourself that you're the one who's controlling this process and outcome? Because if you have, well, guess what? Now, if you don't hit 1 million and your podcast tanks, who do you think is going to where do you think all that blame is going to go? Put myself, put on yourself. So that's the silver lining.
But then there's the other portion of like, I'd rather blame myself because that's one thing I can control. At the end of the day, like everything going, like I can always control how I react. I can always control what I do next. How does that affect it? And I'm someone who's like, I'm from to believe in somebody. But how do you then balance accountability with whatever's meant for me is meant for me?
I'm still trying to figure it out, to be honest. My way of conceptualizing it is I hold myself accountable to as much as I can, whilst also maintain. See, we don't believe in absolutes here. We don't believe in absolutes. We're not saying, oh yeah, I have control and I don't have control. We're believing in what's going on. You're laughing.
Not just have funny messages.
Okay, sorry. We're believing the fact that, there's accountability for sure on our end, but there's also the fact that we don't have control over anything. You understand? It's like if we're saying like, oh yo,
When the whole free will discussion.
exactly. So it's like, oh, if I'm going to Jannah, okay, yeah, but did I know like, oh, if I go to hell, like it's done, then that's like that's a whole different. But you understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
How important would you say passion is in someone's life?
Well, I really like this question a lot, and the reason is this: I think the younger generation has screwed themselves over in a sense that they're like, my job is not passionate, so I can't do it. You actually need to have a lack of passion in your day-to-day activities in order to activate passion, because passion is very directly correlated with creativity.
Okay.
I'll give you a very easy example. There are days where I'm like, oh, I don't want to give therapy to people. I don't want to call real estate clients. So would you say, oh, this guy's not passionate about his work? No. Passion in a nutshell has to be limited in order for it to express itself completely and abundantly. Because if you never met someone who's passionate about everything they do. It's impossible. There's no one like that, because you have to be a human. You have a cognitive brain way of thinking and you have an emotional state way of thinking. And passion usually stems from emotion, artistic stuff, all that good stuff. So what do I say about passion? I say do a lot of boring, mundane stuff. Go to the gym, do boring work, calls, admin work, this and that. And when you've let that out of your system and you've exhausted cognitive brain, emotional brain will come out and it will let you do whatever it is you want to do. It'll let you be passionate in ways that you can hopefully, have fun with.
So you don't believe that your work should be your passion, but it's just an outlet for
your work. Your work should drive you.
Okay.
Your work should excite you. But your work should not be your number one passion in the whole wide world, because then it wouldn't be classified as work. Then you would just be doing your hobby and making a lot of money from it.
Okay. And I think now when we see, like, I would say through social media, through whatever, it should be your passion should make your income. Your passion should be your income. What do you think about that? What's the discussion we would have with that?
Listen, if my passion was my income, I swear to God, if my passion was my income, I would be reading books all day.
Mm-hmm.
I would be sitting on my butt all day. I would not be doing anything all day. Why? My passion is, I'm a cinephile. I love movies. I love TV shows. I love relaxation time. The entire idea of making money and work is giving back to society.
Yeah.
The entire idea of money and work is something you don't really want to do, because as human beings, we all just want to kind of lay back and do our thing. My ideal day, I told this guy, I'm like, I want to wake up, train, and just like mess around all day long. Is that sustainable? No.
Do you feel that when people, let's just say exactly what you just said, I wake up, I train doing something I love, and then I kind of just walk around and do whatever I need to do? It sounds really good on paper, but if someone continuously lives that life, I feel that depression can lurk. And why do you think that is?
Purpose.
Okay.
Passion and purpose go hand in hand, man. So it's like my work with clients gives me purpose. Me giving my message out gives me purpose. Me working directly with people gives me purpose. And if I don't touch base with my purpose, if I don't touch base with my God.
Kind of branching from that, you speak a lot about it's the person that makes the achievement. And if I was stripped away with everything, how would I feel and stuff? And I feel like if someone thinking about it, I'll be confident, like I'm happy. But where would you draw the line between confidence and then just arrogance and ego?
I love that question. I operate in a way where I tell this to him, I'm a sophisticated arrogance, I think is much, much better than confidence. And I'll tell you why. Confidence can only be done in things that you're very comfortable with, right? Good. Your confidence can only be achieved and done in things you're very comfortable with. If I don't know anything about nuclear engineering, I'm not going to be confident in that. But sophisticated arrogance is the idea that you are a complex human being and you're arrogant enough that you believe in yourself to go through whatever you can go through, whatever conversation you can go through, and still land on your 2 feet. Confidence comes and goes, in a sense. A very, very confident man is not actually confident, he's very sophisticatedly arrogant. Your question, Nicole, arrogance versus confidence? If arrogance leads you to do great things for the greater purpose of giving back to humankind or mankind, then so be it. So as long as you're not stepping on someone, you're not harming someone, you're not being a maniac of sorts, a villain of sorts. But if a confident person is doing all of that and he's not arrogant, but people are being harmed,
you see, where you draw the line, I guess.
Where do you draw the line?
So then when you see someone with the ego, what do you think?
I see coping all the time. I saw people coping with different things. So it's like, I see somebody walk in with ego, I kind of project them. I have a conversation with them. I'm like, okay, what, like it's like a puzzle, right? It's like, okay, what is this guy's ideology about himself? What is he bringing to the room? What does he think of himself? Why does he have this ego? What is he compensating for? Ego is just a compensation form. Ego is like internally, you're compensating for something. And this is a very normal trope. It's like we see it on the media all the time. It's like ego is just a way of compensating. It's like the big man with the, like, yeah. So it's like, it's pretty much on par with that. So someone who has a big ego, I've seen is has something to do with not even arrogance, not even confidence. Usually I see insecurity.
What is the differences between ego and arrogance?
Good question. I pretty much hate it. So ego has a lot to do with insecurity that's trying to not be visible. And arrogance is just outwardly arrogance. Not really insecurity. Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
How do you put the line between ego and confidence?
Confidence is, again, it's that idea, right? It's like it's just is like mixed match, right? So it's like ego, arrogance,
And I have
confidence.
friends who are like, we talk about visual disorders and things like that, and I feel like they kind of fall into this. And generally a cool guy, but I feel like sometimes he may get someone who, like an ego. He might look at him like, oh, he has ego, blah blah. But I know him as someone who doesn't. But maybe he just comes off as that. How would someone then? I wouldn't say change character for someone else, but you overall you want to be a good person at the end of the day.
Yeah.
How does someone then understand that? Okay, well I have this little bit. This if I say X, why might people look at like, oh, I have an ego? How would you balance the two?
It's very simple. The person who's saying this person has an ego can also have an insecurity. So a very wealthy 23-year-old walks into a room, completely normal kid, and just talks about his business. 2, 3, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 18-year-olds in the room and be like, this guy has an ego. Why? You're projecting your insecurity of wealth onto this individual, and now you're saying that he has an ego because it makes you feel better to know that this person who is where you want to be has this one trait that you don't like. It makes you compensate. It makes it easier for you to digest.
That's such you just like blew my mind because I had that exact same discussion with someone else the other day that as soon as someone like I'm a little bitch about it. As soon as someone comes up to me like, Nouman, the reason why you're so good at say your podcast is because you're really good to talk to people, or the reason why you have this job is because you just can network really well.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, sucks to be you then. You'll never be good at like. I say it very openly. I think you kind of know it's like there's a joke behind it, but it's a lot like if that's the reality you want to accept that I will always be better than you. You can hate me for it. You can't really love me for it, but I think that's very detrimental. And I really like to tell people that if you really believe that he has something you don't, and now that there's that almost like jealousy, like you really need to understand that there's a lot more to it, right? There's a building. He like the business owner was like he built his business to X amount. He did the work that you were too afraid to do.
Yep.
Same thing. It's like I like to get this example of that a lot. I told you we talk about accounting, and for me personally, accounting was always something that like I just didn't want to do. And even now, I still have my own like inner battles between do I want to continue, do I want to stop? And the way I got this job, alhamdulillah, I feel like it's a decent, it's a big four, so it's credible. Yeah. And the way I got it, it was, I told myself I'm going to apply to one place, and I'll do like the absolute best to apply. If I get it, alhamdulillah. If not, it's not my nasiib. And like, yeah, I could do a lot more, like brand bridges, whatever. But I was like, only one and done, and that's it. But to get that one job, I remember there was like 6 touch points in total. I had to win a case competition, win another case competition. We came finalists, top 3 finalists. Shout out Carter, will obviously carried. But 2, we had like the last 3 years being finalists in 3 different case competitions, and then spoke to this one lady, and then I just kept bothering her, and then that just got me to the interview. Interview was really good. The next day they go call me like, the job is yours, right? And she was all excited. I get really happy. Yeah. And when I tell people like, hey, by the way, I only applied to one place. And she called me like, she gave me a job, and it was really, and in a economy where everyone's struggling, everyone likes to say like, oh sure, well, it's so easy for you, I can see what you think, but no one really likes to see that, right? And I like to say, it's like, bro, like the amount of work we put in to get this, you never did with all your terms of applying. And same thing with the business.
Yeah.
If you're chasing clients with a cold call, which cool, it may work for you. You can dial 100 people for like 5 hours a day, and you can maybe get like a couple leads. But what happens if you just picked one person and you gave them the 5 hours? Right? And you deliver. You're talking to them. You're putting all this effort into it. I think real estate agents do that really well because their leads are very like 1 or 2, but these guys are buying, the high ticket, and it comes in. And something I'm trying to like formulate more as I speak to you right now is that it's that constant of putting so much energy into one thing where failure is almost impossible.
Yeah.
Right?
Burn the bridges.
And then it goes back into balancing a few more things of how do you balance life, passion, all these other things, how, if I came to you and I told you this, what would you tell me?
Your island is the life. Your life is the island. You are the island. You understand me? You are the island, not your job, not your career, not the gym. You alone are the island. And the bridge you're burning is everything else associated with, everything else not associated with your self growth. My wife was like, if it's not making you money or it's not good for your mental health, it's not in your life. And I laughed, but I screenshotted. I'm like, that's true. Because it's true. If it's not good, if it's not making me money or if it's not good for my mental health, it's not in my life. So the bridge that you're burning is that one random friend who you're linking every Friday for God knows what, talking about what, shorties, whatever. Okay. The one random thing you're doing, the scrolling, the endless this, the junk food, the this, the that, everything that is not related to self-growth gets burned. And when you do that and you go assume the entirety of what I try and preach, when you do that, you will see, and you've seen yourself, mashallah, you're very accomplished. You will see things in your life pan up, open up like no tomorrow. And it's the simple idea that you took those 5 hours and instead of giving it to 100 different versions of yourself, you took those 5 hours and gave it to the current version of yourself to become who you are now.
When someone is likes to think about goals and likes to set goals very high, and they're in the pursuit of hitting them. Okay, no, I'll scratch this one. How does someone set an appropriate goal that they can achieve, and how do you work towards that? Of course, everyone is very different. What are the micro steps and what are the macro steps you would tell them?
Smart goal, bro. So it's a whole thing, man. The idea is the idea is sustainable, and it sounds BS, but it's true. But at the same time, like my entire fundamental basis to my growth has always been micro goals, always micro habits that lead to micro goals that lead to actual goals. So if my goal is, for example, my real estate team do 6 figures, okay, that's the goal. Okay, what's the micro goal? Micro goal is X amount of transactions. Okay, micro habits to lead to X amount of transactions. How many dials do we need every day to get to there? And then it's like just a matter of, okay, the thing is, people love to talk about goals and how do you set them and what's the best routine to have, and do you do them in the day, do you do them in the night, do you journal about it in the evening at 7 p.m. or do you journal about it at 7 a.m.? No, you just do it. I'm not a believer of productivity hacks per se. Dude, I wake up, I take like a little bit of pre-workout. I know it's not healthy, but I take a little bit of pre-workout, get myself going, electrolytes, and I'm in my office. It's started. It's started. There's no like, oh, sit and fluff. A lot of people love fluff. You know why? Because fluff feels good. Fluff feels really good. I promise you, if I sat down, man, and I wrote like 10 of the most incredible ways to hit my goal of being like 175 lean, veins on my abs, this is how I'm gonna do it, these are the meals I'm gonna cook, versus just doing the deficit and steps. The deficit and steps is boring. I don't want to do that. I don't want to think about that. I want to think about the chicken parmesan cabbage deficit, the ninja creamy with the, all these things are fun to think about because our brain is a term mental. Like it's like a thing where it's like
You can drop it.
no, I can't remember. Do that. mental self pleasure. Let's say, right? People love that. People love it, and it's social media. You see someone with a Lambo, you don't think. Do you think about that guy in the Lambo? Think about him and his girlfriend in the Lambo? No, you think about yourself. So we are projecting our stuff onto everything we see all the time now. It's just a question of when are you gonna stop projecting it and just do the work?
Now that social media is such a big part of so many people's lives, how do you think that's impacted them? And what would you say to them, like if someone comes to you with like this, I need to be this millionaire by 22, blah, 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 and I'm not that person, I feel depressed. And one thing is you can talk about that's really nice goal to work that hard, but another thing is, what are you doing? What do you say to that?
Bro, I'm honestly serious. Like when I personally started spending less time on social media and more time touching grass, we shot a B-roll to me touching grass. Serious. Like this is how important it is.
Yeah.
My mental health got significantly better. And because it's the idea of comparison is the thief of joy. And our idea of what life is like, especially young guys, has been so distorted, it's almost hilarious. The stuff I hear. I went to a wedding, some 16-year-old kid next to me eating samosa chaat. And the kid's like, bro, my crypto, I bought a course. I promise you next year, Dubai, we're going to meet Dubai. And I look at these kids and I'm like, are you serious right now? Like you're 16, you're talking about crypto? At 16, I was waiting for the next Percy Jackson to come. What are you talking about? Where is this discrepancy coming from? And it's a simple idea. People who flex their cars and all that stuff. You know, you're in the space. You know, a lot of these people are leasing their cars. It's like a complete right.
Yeah.
It's a distorted reality. So what would I say to them is spend less time on social media and more time on yourself. A lot of people, bro. A lot of people are like, oh, we have ADHD. Go look at their screen time. That's it. Go look at their screen time. People are like, oh, we don't have time to work out. We don't have time. Go look at their screen time.
I saw this one, it was like an article, and it was someone who stopped screens for 7 weeks, camping whenever he went. And he was someone who always struggled with memory. But when he came back, he was in like the 97th percentile or something.
I'm reading a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. It's very simple.
Oh, yeah, you know what? I do have that one. I think I read a couple pages of it. I heard it was really good.
Really good book. Simple idea is this. You are what you think you are. You are what you think you are. And your brain cannot tell the difference between reality and visualization or memories. So and we do this in therapy, right? We'll go visit a memory, we'll sit there in that memory, we'll rewire like it's a whole thing. So the idea is very simple. You are what you think you are. So if you think of yourself as someone who spends less time on social media and you are driven and ambitious and goal setting and all that stuff, you will be that person with enough time. And the idea of like young people and millionaires and Lambos is just delusional at this point. It's like you can't do much. You just gotta let them kind of figure it out on their own. The ones who are gonna be go-getters, they will be go-getters. The ones who are gonna learn the harder way are gonna learn the harder.
That's fair. You kind of already answered this, but I want to give you like a list of vices or bad habits, and I want to hear how your macro and micro way you'll process these. Okay. Right? Okay. So number one, screen time. Addicted to your phone. What do you do that?
Look at your screen time. Start small, 5 minutes every day, less. Very doable, very easy, and then reaffirm it every night. Today I spent 5 less minutes on my phone. I bought back 5 minutes. What did I do with these 5 minutes? You sit still and just breathe for 5 minutes. You will learn how long 5 minutes truly is. It's hard. It's not easy. But you go on Instagram, 5 minutes is like this. So I'd start there and then just start backing up slowly.
Okay. I would say then, and in the macro, what would you say to that?
I would say the less screen time you have, you're consuming non-valuable content. You're buying back time that you can spend. You're buying back a better attention span. You're buying back more dopamine. You're buying back so much you don't realize it. It's like when people like quit certain drugs, and many of them when they become sober, they're like, "Yo, we even realize how amazing life was until we quit." You have to do the thing first to see how good it feels. You can't imagine how good it feels while you're doing the thing. It just doesn't make sense.
Pornography. How does someone stop that?
Well, it depends on why, number one. And I urge you to think about this as well. A lot of pornography actually doesn't have much to do with the like the act in of itself. It has to do with the shame. The shame component of it has been very prominent in society that it's such a bad thing. And I have my own opinions and stuff, obviously, but it's the shame component which a lot of young men deal with, right? And it has to do a lot with parental upbringing. So a lot of parents have put these ideas in their heads like, very bad, we are holy, we are this, we are that. And so it brings a certain level of shame. So it's exploring the why. Why do you want to stop, number one? Number two, how do you stop? Well, dude, what's your trigger? And what's your trigger? Is it girls dancing on TikTok? Is it girls dancing on Instagram? Is it girls somewhere in the public, whatever? What's your trigger? And honestly, the thing I'm seeing with lust, man, is that it's like, even in our deen, it's like, this is not something you can like reject. This is something you avoid. This is something you avoid. This is not something you can sit there and say, oh, I don't do that. We are designed that way. It's just males, especially. We're just designed that way. It's something you avoid consciously. So it's understanding what is your trigger, reduce to stop doing the trigger. Very simple. Bro, if you're bringing your phone to the bathroom, don't bring your phone to the bathroom. We overcomplicate this stuff. There's no science behind this. We overcomplicate it. If you're using your phone in the bathroom, stop bringing your phone in the bathroom. Triggers, reducing the triggers, same thing. Reduce one small trigger, even once a week. Reaffirm it back to yourself in a journal, write it down. Hey, Monday, I did not bring my phone to the bathroom and watch pornography, whatever. I'm proud of myself and I'm taking a step closer to where I want to be.
Do you believe in, you kind of do, but do you believe in affirmations of your journal and all that? And why is it effective? And when do I do it? When do I do this? Because I've heard it so much. And I'm someone that I just can't get myself to write. I've tried video. That was pretty cool. Sometimes, like, if I feel like very stressed, anxiety and all that stuff that comes in, I'll draw it, I'll put up a phone and be like, hey, Nouman, blah, 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 and I'll start. Tell me affirmations. Tell me about them. Do's, don'ts.
Very simple. When you
And how do you balance, like we said, not doing the thing, and you called it mental pleasuring? Is affirmations that, and writing your journal, is journaling that, or is it actually a step forward?
two things. Number one, the difference between affirmations and mental, pleasure is mental pleasure is very quick. Speed at lightning. If I tell you right now, you're gonna hit 100K once with this podcast. You're gonna make 100K. Your brain's like firing. It's like, okay, 100K. I'm gonna do this. Affirmations is different because number one is grounded in reality. So you actually have to affirming. The entire idea of affirming means reinforcing something that's already there. So you have to actually affirm something that's there. So you're not just thinking about random stuff. Number one. Number two, when you write something down, your brain has a lot of time to process it. And when it has that much time to process it, two things happen. Your processing increases. So when you're writing something down, like today, I did not take my phone to the bathroom on a Monday. I feel really good about myself. This is one step closer to my goals. Your brain has processed that singular thought at least 10 times. Because you're thinking about it the whole time you're writing. Today, I wrote that, and you're thinking about it. Secondly, when you put it on paper, now your brain has suddenly visualization. Remember psycho-cybernetics? Your brain has realized, okay, this is in front of me now. So this is something that's out in the world. This is real. This is real. This is a thing that I wrote. This is something that I put into the world. So therefore, it has value. It's tangible. And that alone, super powerful.
Okay. Now, I would say this is more of advice. I would say that this is something I personally have dealt with. People in my life will constantly say they deal with. Overthinking. Chronic overthinking. I feel like it has its place in times because I like to do a lot of pattern. I don't know what the word was, like when you see the patterns. So after that, that's like a pro for me. It's good because if I'm doing a podcast, I'm trying to plan my day. I'm like, this was blah, 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 all these things come together. This happens there, this happens there. Now I can make sure this goes well. And now overthinking is like a skill for me. But how do you deal with someone who's like a constant overthinker, who's constantly in their head about a lot of things?
Ground. So it says, ground yourself. Get out of here. We go somatics, listen to the body. Go get in tune with your body. It means go work out. It means go for a walk. It means go get a massage. It means go sit and go literally walk in grass. Feel things on your body. The entire idea of overthinking is that you're in your head. Get out of your head. How do you get out of your head? You get into your body. Or you get into something else. For example, get locked in on a video. Watch a movie. Watch a show. Relax. Ground yourself. How do you ground yourself? With the breath. Okay, so you ground yourself using the breath. If you're able to actually control your breath in a very strategic way, you can calm your body down and reduce how quickly you're thinking, which can obviously has a range of effects, right? If you're thinking calmly, you're relaxed, you're good, you can enjoy yourself a lot more. So, and it's like, why you overthink, bro? There's a billion reasons why you overthink. We're in the society where every day you're hearing something horrible happen. We're not in a happy, like, quote unquote world right now. There's tons of stuff happening. So it's also a byproduct of the environment you're in. Would you overthink this much if you were in Malaysia on a beach?
Fair. Very valid. You said movies and you said other things. You ever feel like you eventually get to the point where you're just running away from your problems? Because not saying overthinking is a problem, whatever. And this is kind of weird because now there's like a problem, there's also overthinking. They might be two different problems. But how do I then stop myself from getting into the rut and using coping mechanisms such as going to the gym, maybe it's a cope for something else, or that's healthy, but say watching movies, anything else, but actually looking at the problem. How do you balance that?
Notice how I said the word rest. I didn't say cope. It's a very specific reason why rest in its words simply means a rest from something you're doing work. Where you can't rest something that hasn't been work. You can't. It doesn't make sense. Like you wake up, right? Let's say, what do you do on a Saturday? You rest. What are you going to do on a Thursday at 2 p.m.? Work. What are you going to do Thursday at 7 p.m.? Rest. So it's like when you're resting, how do you choose to rest is more important than the idea of, oh, you're coping with it the wrong way. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when you rest, be intentional with your rest. We're not intentional with our rest. Our idea of resting, that's not rest. Our idea of resting is movies, like back to back, like no, our idea of rest should be less stimulation.
Oh, okay. I didn't think of that way. Bro, rest should be
Read a book.
Yeah.
Read a book. Read a book for rest. Okay, don't go on the phone. I'll tell you very easily, one of the biggest telltale signs that you're resting. You have the urge to go on your phone.
What do you mean?
You go on an hour-long walk without your phone. When you come back home, what's the first thing you want to do for a girl? Okay. You've been at the movies for 2 hours. Great movie. What's the first thing you do as a You've been working out for 2 hours. You're locked in. What's the first thing you do after your workout? Oh, okay. So the simple idea that you will have the urge to go on your phone after an extended period of time means you had done good rest.
Okay. But then, if I'm working, I'm being stimulated in there, I want to take a break now, I want to go watch home. Is that not count as a rest?
No, it's just dopamine. Right. It's just the idea of dopamine. It's like for example, if I ask you, hey, the person who smokes on their break, is that rest?
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, well,
I would think it's rest.
we think it's rest, but when you look at what's happening in the brain, we're just increasing dopamine to cope with the environment. We're preparing for the next dosage of work, quote unquote work, because work is dopamine depletion in a sense. It's like giving energy, we're giving motivation away. So rest is lack of stimulus. In a nutshell, rest is lack of stimulus.
So do you think people chase dopamine instead of resting?
Yeah, because it's dopamine. Because bro, dopamine is pleasure. You hit the vape, you smoke, it's pleasure, it feels good. Oh yeah, okay, I feel good. We mistake feeling good with rest. Rest is supposed to be boring. Rest is supposed to be mundane. This morning I sat in a hammock in the sun for an hour, even though I had no desire to, just so that I could prepare for the rest of my day. I had good rest. People confuse pleasure with rest. No, two different things.
So then, you said, what are you doing Saturday? You're resting. As someone who likes to consider himself, I wouldn't say high achiever, but I like to work. I think I'm in constant thing. Yep. So my Saturdays and Sundays are working.
That's fine.
And then my Mondays and Fridays are working, and my afternoons, whatever. How would you? And our constant back thought in my head is burnout's a thing. Burnout. I'm gonna burn out. I'm gonna burn out. And it's sometimes, yes, I'll have the times where, yes, after my master's, yeah, when we talked about this, that after I just, like, in my head, like, I went through one of the most traumatic experiences, bro. I had, like, literally, I had my brother's help me, like, wash her and get, I'm crying, I'm taking all these pills. Mentally, I'm somewhere else. I didn't have to now focus and do this master's degree. I finished it, and I can't tell you what I did for the degree. It's like, my mind was so, like, bro, I just don't want to do anything. I was, like, on my phone, and I was just watching anime, like, the entire time. You need it. Okay. But then now, how do you now? But that's not really realistic for me now, because alhamdulillah, I was able to get half time off. What do you do then when there's people who are higher achievers, regular people who don't have days they can spend just resting, and they have to they don't want to burn out? What do you do to them?
Who said you have days to rest, brother? I work 7 days a week, like a madman. I have to. I'm same as you. I need to get that. Like, I love it, right? That's where I get my dopamine from. That's where I get my, okay, I need to get this. I need to get. Have you watched Kick?
Yeah,
It's Kick. Yeah, Kick. You should actually do, right? Yeah. So it's like that's where I need it from. It's working. But number one thing is, if you're scared of burnout, listen to your body. Listen to your body. Genuinely ask your body what it needs from you. And I do this every day, bro. Every day. I haven't gone to the gym in 4 days because I'm asking my body, yo, what do you need from me right now? My body, and your body responds. Your body will respond. I challenge you to ask. Let me ask you right now. What does your body need from me? Really close your eyes and think about it. What does your body need? Is it tense? Is it stressed? Is it hungry? Is it tired? Most often than not, your body's like, yo, I need rest. Most often than not. So you just have to rest your body, and it doesn't have to be for days. No, remember what we were talking about. You can't sit around on your ass all day. It doesn't have to be for days. It can be a simple half an hour, 20 minutes.
I think the intention behind is what you're kind of.
Intention is everything. Bro, if you're not it's very simple. You have one guy on his phone for 20 minutes in between his work break or whatever, just whatever. I'm here. One guy preps his couch, takes off his shoes, takes off his socks, takes off his glasses, puts the phone down, makes intention in our religion as well. Makes intention. Okay, I'm going to rest for 20 minutes, and it's gonna feel good.
Does resting always mean sleeping? What does it mean?
Resting is whatever form of lack of stimulation you need, or sometimes even additional stimulation that you need in order to feel like your best self. It can be as simple. My rest sometimes is walking on my walking pad and reading a book. My rest is sometimes laying in a hammock, and you have to ask yourself what your body needs. Your body sometimes needs active rest. Your body sometimes needs regular rest. Sometimes you need sleep. Sometimes you need more food. Sometimes you need more calories.
How important is it to leave the house then?
It's a good question to ask myself as well, because I'm a homebody, bro. I barely leave. So it's really the idea of like your compartmentalization. If your work is your home, if all these things are kind of coming together, how well are you able to separate them? But above all, I think yes, being outside the home and having social interactions, it's smelling the air, and it's important. It's something we need. COVID kind of screwed us over.
I feel like I speaking to someone who, like right now they're in between jobs and they're spending a lot of time at home, and my whole thing was like, hey, like you really need to like not just get out for the sake of getting out, but you have to be outside. Like you can't be continue. Like I think it's like breaking the loop almost. And for me, like I know that the longer I'm at home, the more comfortable I get, and I need to leave the house. And even if it's like I love being at home, and maybe work is whatever, and my mom hates it. She's like you're always out, you're always out. But I know that the longer I stay at home, the more in my head, the more like I can sleep. I can my phone's right there. It's a lot more like you have to do something, and it's leaving the house and leaving that environment, even though it's a healthy environment, but with too much time, too much of everything is bad, right? It's a dose, like poison's in the dose, right? How do you then understand when to leave, and how do you tell someone like, hey, like this is your issue?
Well, number one, bro, you don't tell someone what to do. As a therapist, you never do that. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is understanding what are they really saying. If they're saying, I like what you said, I'm at home, my bed's right there, my phone's right there, mom's good cooking is there, all that stuff is there. Well, a lot of the comfort is at home. So some discomfort is necessary for growth. So the formula, no matter what, some discomfort you need it for growth. So it's that idea of like, how often should you leave home? Well, bro, it's dependent on each person, but it's enough that when you're at home, you're resting primarily. You're not lounging around and wasting time. You're resting intentionally. And so if you're out of the house, you're actually working, you're doing what you need to do to chase your purpose and all the stuff we talked about.
Perfect. So now we're moving to a different portion of the podcast where it's called the rapid fire question.
Okay.
Some questions may be more thought provoking, but I want to get like the first couple sentences that are general. Grab coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Perfect. What made you want to be a therapist?
Impact.
First thing you do in the morning?
Take a shit.
Fair. Who was your biggest role model growing up?
My dad.
Okay. Why?
Just, bro, he's my hero. He just did everything there.
Favorite book on psychology or self-help?
Oh. Lewis Howes. I forgot the name I read it when I was like in high school. Lewis Howes. It was a book about being a hero, something like that.
One myth about therapy you hate?
That's for weak people.
One myth about therapy you agree with?
It can make you cry.
What do you think therapy is really? Who do you think therapy is really for?
Anyone and everyone.
Biggest misconceptions clients walk in with?
Then I'm gonna ask them how they feel about every little thing.
One mental health tip everyone should know?
Wake up with intention and go to bed with gratitude.
Do therapists need therapy themselves?
100% yes.
What's the hardest part about being a therapist?
Self-care and also trying to give as much impact as you can.
What's the most rewarding part?
Watching someone grow.
If you were a therapist, what would you be doing?
A coach.
One word clients use too often these days.
It's a good one. ADHD.
Most overrated mental health trend right now?
Lavish, extreme, detailed coffees.
Fair enough. Counter to that is something that if they need that lavish, detailed coffee, but that gets them throughout the entire day. And what do you say then?
100% do it. It's the idea is like people use that as an excuse to do other things that help them cope. So buying expensive coffee machines, buying expensive beans, not the actual process. This is for those people. But the people who do it genuinely because it gets them through it and makes them feel good. Yeah, 100%. I can't go a day without my Turkish coffee, bro. I need my Turkish coffee a certain way. So yeah,
fair enough. Do you think therapy should have an endpoint?
I think no. Now, me personally, as the kind of therapist I am, I'm a relational therapist. So a lot of my stuff is based on an individual relationship with each client. For some people need maintenance therapy. It's a really great way to check in with your therapist and see how things are and if there's another perspective that can be offered. For some clients, an ending is necessary to allow them we talk about is allow them to be like, okay, this is good. Now I'm off into the world. But there's always that idea that if they do ever want to come back, they can.
Biggest lesson you learned for your clients?
I'm a very, very, very privileged person, and my problems are always going to seem minuscule when I really zoom out.
How do you battle when someone compares tells himself that, oh, people have it worse. I shouldn't be mad. I should be grateful for where I am, and I should just be okay with everything.
Being grateful for your life is not the same thing as brushing aside your problems because they're insignificant. That's the difference that a lot of people get wrong.
What do you tell them? So you tell them that, and then you kind of open the door, I guess.
Yeah. And it's like, you have a problem. Your problems are real. The rich girl in her 20s whose Lambo's brake pad is scratched, that's a very real problem to her. It might not seem like it to us. It's a very real problem to her and it needs to be addressed. But she also needs to have the ability to understand that, yes, it's a problem, but it's not the end of the world. It's not something she should spend all day worrying about. That's the difference.
What's more important, self-awareness or action?
They both go hand in hand. You can't pick one without the other.
Do you believe everyone should try therapy once?
Absolutely.
What's one red flag you look for at people?
Thinking that they have no mistakes or they cannot be wrong.
Is social media helping or hurting mental health?
Heard it.
What's one habit that boosts mental health fast?
Breathwork, round.
What breathwork do you recommend?
I do
Doubling off method.
No, I do 5, 5, 8. So 5 deep inhale with expansion of stomach, 5 deep hold, and noticing the actual how much air is being like taken up and noticing that heaviness, and then very slow 8-second exhale, a physiological sigh at the same time. 3 rounds, it'll work amazing.
What does that do for you?
Brings you to it basically changes your ability to think in a very cognitive way, to ground yourself in a way where you're able to be more open and receptive to the thoughts you're having.
When you speak with clients who are in a relationship, when do you tell them to break up, or can every relationship be saved?
I don't. It's not my job to tell them what to do or what not to do. My job is to lay out different pathways for them so that they can see which options they like. They can see which pathways lead where. And if they ask for my perspective on something, I give them my perspective on every single option. Because I don't want to buy someone into leaving a relationship. That is not my job.
Do you believe in fate or free will?
Both.
One question you wish clients asked you.
How are you?
What's a guilty pleasure after a long day?
Oreo thins. 3 Oreo thins.
Oh my god, yeah, because in the back of the thing, like 60 or 70 calories? Oh,
3 Oreo thins.
It never stops at 3.
no, never stop at 3.
Yeah.
Do you think journaling works?
100%.
Is it possible to overanalyze yourself?
Yes.
Favorite quote you live by?
The ocean of fear is a mile wide but an inch thick.
What's your go-to stress reliever?
A walk. A nice, long, cold, brisk walk.
If clients only had 60 seconds with you, what's one piece of advice you would tell them that would make the most impact?
Damn. This guy got me there. Okay, again.
You can think about this. This one you can think about.
Okay, it depends on the client, but if it's a young man struggling with self-esteem, confidence, it's a South Asian young man struggling with discipline, clarity, and purpose, my first thing would be highlight all of your wins. Imagine how good those wins felt. Separate yourself from what people have taught you about yourself and understand you are who you think you are. You are not a byproduct of what you've been told about yourself. Start fresh. Start tracking all of your habits. Biggest thing I would say, create the ideal future self that you have for yourself. Craft that person's daily routine. Craft that person's traits, characters, habits, what time that person wakes up, what time they shit, every single thing about that person, and work backwards from there. So now you have a group of traits that future version of yourself has. How often he trains, how often he eats, just work backwards when they're using my micro habit principle. That's it.
That concludes that portion of the podcast. Now, throughout this interview, we hear a lot about micro habits, and you spoke a lot about what you can offer and how you help not only just the clients that come to you directly, but in a wide variety. And I've seen your TikToks and X, Y, and Z. Tell me about that. Tell me how you can help, and tell me how you help.
So on one hand, I am a therapist. So that's one of my jobs is I work one-on-one with people in psychotherapy services and I help them. The other thing I do, which is very different, is coaching. So this is coaching primarily for South Asian high-performing men, such as yourself, who need an idea, who need somebody for daily accountability, who need a system for discipline, who need a way to gain clarity and purpose that is not rooted in psychotherapeutic principles, but more rooted towards their life and what they're going through on a day-to-day basis, and a structure. And so that's what I offer South Asian young men. And their therapy thing is on its own thing. And so, yeah.
Do you think that a lot of times people say, well, I have a friend who can keep me accountable, and they have like a prop. I don't know, me and my friends, what we used to do is we had like a 4-man group chat specifically just for this, and we used to have these buckets like faith, financial, all these things, and weekly would meet and like we'd talk about our goals, what we did and what we didn't do, and then we would talk whether it was good or not. What do you say for that? Is that good step one? Is that okay for whatever, or should you go above and get what you were?
How'd that go for you?
I think it will do. With time I did it, I do it really well.
Okay.
But it was a continuation, and then I think what happened was then it's like your friends, your family at the end of the day, and not your family. There you go. So that's
Can you answer it for me? So it's the idea of consistency and neutral perspective. Where can people find you? Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Hopefully you'll attach my handles, of course. And yeah, email. I don't know.
what's next?
What's next? Oh damn. Nothing, man. I'm just here. I'm just gonna keep trying to do whatever I can, and I'm at a place right now where, alhamdulillah, I have structure. So just kind of staying in my structure and working on these things and trying to see what works and what doesn't work, and that's it, man.
That's the podcast.